Hi, this is Scott Holzoffel. Thanks for joining. We're going to start in about 1 minute. Thank you. Good evening, depending on where you may be. This is Scott Holzoffel. We appreciate you joining us today and are anxious to share our Dreamforce experience with you. What we'll do is we'll start off with some introductions on our side, walk through our presentation that we provided at Dreamforce in the admin zone with YETI, and do a small demo, and then what we can do at the end of that is take some questions if you have any. So let's start with introductions, and I'll let Alex introduce himself first.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Alex Joseph. I'm a VP of Solution Engineering here at enosiX. I came to enosiX from IBM. I was an associate partner there in the SAP practice. I've been doing SAP for 16 some years now, and I've worked with various different SAP technologies and applications. So glad to be here with you all and share our experience from Dreamforce.
And this is Scott Holzoffel. I'm a VP of Enterprise Sales. Prior to enosiX, I was with Salesforce for 3.5 years, finishing up as a VP of Sales there. And I came over to join enosiX when I saw the technology that we had created. It's really pretty amazing. From my experience, I've worked with a lot of big enterprise companies, and while you would think integrating SAP and Salesforce would be an issue that some of the smaller companies struggle with, the bigger ones struggle with it too. It's very difficult given the tools and technology that's out there in the market today. We have something that's very unique, so we're excited to share it with you. So stay tuned here, and let's walk through what we shared with YETI at Dreamforce. So what we really help clients do is deliver on the promise and helping you capitalize on your biggest application investments, which are most likely Salesforce and SAP. You purchase Salesforce to connect with your customers in a whole new way, and for the most part, you probably succeeded. And then you bought SAP to become a best-run business. But the issue is that, for the most part, they're not tightly integrated. And so now you have your Salesforce users in the field engaging with clients, and they're missing critical, actionable information to be effective. And obviously, this creates issues around productivity, double entry, swivel chairing, or unnecessary calls to inside sales. They may have trouble engaging with the customer because they're sitting there in front and they can't give them information that they need or the customer would expect. And then obviously, if you've got Salesforce or any application, you worry about adoption. So what we do is help you deliver on the promise of your investment and real-time integration out of the box. So the value of CRM is directly proportional to the accurate and comprehensive data that it has access to. But up to 40%, and I really think that's conservative, it could be as high as 60% of that critical information that the user needs, it's not in Salesforce, it's not available. It's locked up in their ERP. And so if you think about your sales reps that are out in the field, how do you expect them to get a 360-degree view of the customer if they can't access order history or quote history or account balance or any of that other information? And so as we'll hear, I'll share some of the slides. YETI couldn't join us today, but we'll share some of the slides. Basically, they couldn't do their job very well without the real-time information in Salesforce, which is why they ended up going with enosiX. They needed accurate shipping, tracking information, returns, inventory. So, when you're going through an implementation, companies have to prioritize which data can be accessed because of the time and expense for that integration. So this will look familiar to you guys. This is the Lightning GUI. We can also do this in Classic. We're indifferent. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see those are SAP transaction screens, and then on the far right are some Fiori apps. And for a lot of companies out there, this is reality. This is reality for your sales reps. They are clicking on SAP transactions to do one thing. They may have a Fiori app or two for another, and then they've got Salesforce. And as a former sales rep, this makes your job really, really hard. And so this ties back to the 40% deficit in the previous slide. And this really would have been YETI's option, which is siloed data. Data in SAP here, and data in a Fiori app, and then data there. So what we do is we help provide that data in real time. And what Alex will show you later is we are basically mashing up data between Salesforce and SAP to give you the information that you need to be effective. Basically, we are making Salesforce a single pane of glass into SAP and turning it into a true agility layer. So it begs the question, if this is so important, why aren't companies doing it? And the answer is that it's very hard given traditional tools. But we have a secret sauce, and we'll talk through what that means to you. So this secret sauce really takes what's very challenging and makes it surprisingly simple. So before we get into the details of that, let's just talk real quickly about YETI, and then I'll turn it over to Alex for a demo. So if you're familiar, YETI is the leading company for high-end coolers and drinkware. They make fantastic products, and as such, their business has been booming. They outgrew their ERP system, started on an older ERP, and basically had to go to SAP S/4HANA to support the growth of the company. They looked at several traditional middleware solutions, but nobody could match the real-time transaction and real-time information that we provide. And then also nobody could match the speed to value. Our implementations are much shorter when you compare against traditional products and tools. And so what they were trying to avoid is what I said earlier. Prior to having this real-time integration, they had lots of calls from outside sales to inside sales, just dragging down the productivity of the whole group. So over on the right, what you'll see is a screen from Salesforce One. And so what we've enabled them to do is their sales reps from Salesforce One can create orders on SAP directly from that application. And so they're working with our Enterprise Edition and also doing integration with Paymetric, and it's delivering them real-time integration, better quality of information, increased productivity and better Salesforce utilization, and then just better customer engagement now that they have the visibility into the account info. So last slide before the demo. This is basically what they bought. They bought our Enterprise Edition, and so you can see on the left-hand side is a list of what we call our business objects, or our smart business objects, that we give you access to. And then that access can come in the form of create, read, update, and even delete. And so YETI is using, for the most part, all of the smart business objects that you see listed there. So we're giving them access to all that SAP information directly from Salesforce. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Alex, and he can walk you through a short demo.
Thank you, Scott. So I'm going to flip over here to my browser. So what you're seeing here is a standard standard Salesforce screen. This is you're looking at this account, Burlington Textiles. And the underlying philosophy is that we want to keep the Salesforce data in Salesforce and then the SAP data in SAP, and only do callouts to SAP when we need to view that information or update that information that resides in SAP. So really, as Scott said, it's a mashup of the data between these two systems, giving you that single pane of glass to view all your information from one application. So here, if I click into, these are all standard Salesforce related fields. You have your contacts, you have the opportunities that are related to this account, cases. All of this information is specific to Salesforce. When I click on details, it's going to give me the details regarding this particular account. I can see the account owner, the rating, contact information, what type of customer is this, all of that good stuff that sits in Salesforce. But then over here, you will see that I have the SAP customer number. So this is how we link your account over in Salesforce to the SAP customer master record that resides in SAP. If I do a drop down here, you will see for purposes of this demo, these are the integration points that we could potentially show you. I don't think we'd have the time to go through all of them, but I certainly want to show you some of them. So if I click on SAP customer, what's going to happen is this is doing a real-time call into SAP using our technology. So there is no middleware. So none of these fields are mapped. There is no syncing of data going on. I'm reaching out to the data where it rests, which is in SAP. So from a security standpoint, this is good news because there's no data in transit anywhere. The data is always being accessed at source. What I can and cannot do within these screens is also driven by my security over in SAP. So I don't have to do dual maintenance of the user security in SAP and in Salesforce. Whatever I have in SAP is going to drive what I can and cannot do here in Salesforce. So you'll see this is the customer master record that's being rendered from SAP into Salesforce. If you're familiar with the setup of the customer master in SAP, there's 3 different views of that customer. So you have the general view, you have the sales view, you have the finance view. All of that is being rendered over here in Salesforce in one screen. And again, this is an unmanaged Visualforce page. We deliver these as templates to you as part of the product. And then you can take it from here and then modify it as you see fit. Right, so there may be some pieces of information that you don't want to see here, or there may be additional fields over in the customer master that you do want to display that are not displayed here, then that can also be done very easily. So I can go in here and say update SAP customer. It's now making a real-time call into SAP. It takes a second. The architecture that we have here is the front end is Salesforce, the back end is an SAP S/4HANA system. And so you will see certain things that are kind of exclusive to HANA, which is you're seeing BP category name, which is business partner, and these are things that are relevant to the customer in the HANA environment.
But it is worth mentioning we run on versions ECC 4.7 all the way up to S/4HANA. So if you fall within that frame, then we have you covered.
That's a great point, Scott. So this is completely release independent. So the framework is an SAP certified add-on that can be installed on multiple versions of SAP. We are talking to many prospects who have multiple production instances of SAP on different releases. So you don't have to worry about getting them all up to the same patch level before you do this integration. Because we can install the framework on different instances of SAP that have different releases. So here when I do a drop down for shipping conditions, you can see that all of these values are coming here in real time. Payment terms, I can go in here and say, change the payment terms for this customer if I'm allowed to do that in SAP. And when I say update SAP customer, it's actually going and updating the customer master record in SAP. So if there are any error messages like we see here, these are all error messages coming back from SAP that are being rendered in Salesforce. Again, these error messages can be not modified, but we can map them to something that makes more sense to your salespeople in Salesforce. So you don't have to worry about them not knowing what that error message means. So I'm going to go return to the account, and I'm going to show you one more thing here. You probably want to move this.
Well, Alex is pulling that up. As you mentioned, there's no true middleware. What our clients really like about this solution is that you no longer need to find that third resource that knows that unique middleware solution. Ours is entirely managed and for the most part by your Salesforce admin. It's in Apex. We're leveraging for the front end traditional Salesforce technology, and then you may need some part-time from an op resource, but for the most part you become independent from those traditional third-party middleware providers and resources.
Yep. So as you can see here, I went in there and I'm creating the order. I'm creating the order in the context of this customer, Burlington Textiles. So you can see everything here is very similar to, not very similar, it's exactly what you see in SAP. This is your VA01 that we are rendering over here in Salesforce. So I can come in here, I can pick the order type. Again, security is driven from SAP. So if I did not have access to a certain order type in SAP, that would not show up in my dropdown here. The moment I click on standard order, it starts, using my SAP logic, right? So I don't have to come in here and worry about, hey, what if I pick a sales org distribution channel division combination that this particular customer does not belong to. That's not going to happen because that business logic is enforced from SAP, right? So my sold to, my shipped to, all of that information is auto-populated because SAP already knows what that needs to be. I can come in here, put in the customer PO number, I can pick the PO date. Again, all the required fields over in SAP are also required fields over here. So I cannot break any of that business logic that's already been configured in SAP over here in Salesforce. When I do a drop down here for materials, it's showing me the materials in real time from SAP. When I say pick a material, it's auto-populating the plant that it's going to be delivered from because it already knows that over in SAP. So again, I don't have to code any of that. Again, over in Salesforce, all of this logic is being driven from SAP. When I say add item, it's actually going to go out and add a line item to the sales order. And here I can see my price. We could also provide you with drill down capabilities. You can drill into the line item, look at the ATP, when can I promise this to my customer, what plant it's coming out from. I can drill into the pricing, maybe make some modifications if I'm allowed to do that, add discounts, so on and so forth. And remember, I mean, we can also do this if you wanted to create a quote in Salesforce, and that's what we're seeing is very common, that the salespeople are, generating quotes out of Salesforce. We can save that off as a record in Salesforce, and then you can use native Salesforce workflows to get pricing approvals, perhaps. And then once that is approved, then you come back in here and convert that quote to an action order. But the good news is that all of this information is available to you in real time from SAP. So when I am quoting a customer, that's the real pricing. Now, when I'm promising him a certain delivery date, that's actually coming from SAP. So there is no lag in between when I'm sitting in front of the customer and then I find out, oops, I cannot really give you this item on this date because I really don't have it, or I cannot make it by that date. So that's huge. It's a huge benefit for the salespeople to have that information available to them in real time. And now if I come back in here, I'm a sales guy and I'm saying, all right, I'm walking to the customer. What happened? I created this order, 3 weeks ago, and here I can see, wow, I'm looking at the document flow. It's not been delivered yet. So if there was a delivery, I would be able to look at the doc flow just like I didn't do over in SAP. I can see that it's been ordered, it's been delivered, has it been invoiced, and so on and so forth. So this is the power of having all of this information at your fingertips in real time without having any middleware, right? So, and that's huge. No middleware means I don't have to map any fields. There's no data transfer going on. There is no interface. No interface means I don't have to monitor it. So, so benefits are huge. All I need to do is turn this on, and the integration works. I don't have to constantly monitor to see, well, what broke, what's stopping it. There's no IDOCs going back and forth between these two systems. So I don't have to monitor all of that back and forth.
So let's, Alex, that was great, thank you. Let's go back to the slides. While we're transitioning back, we actually have a question that came in. We can address that in real time here. The question is, does this support sales of highly configurable materials with relatively complex variant configuration?
Yes, absolutely it does. And in fact, we are talking to a couple of customers who are doing exactly what you're asking. So like you saw, we are basically rendering the sales order information over in SAP. Now, when you're doing VC in SAP, the VC engine is very powerful in SAP, right? And recoding all of it in Salesforce is a huge task. The best option is to have this nice interface of Salesforce, but able to configure the product from SAP, from Salesforce in SAP. So where you have that button on your sales order entry screen, which basically says, where you're doing the characteristic assignment as you're building the BOM. And yes, you could absolutely do that from Salesforce and have that power of the VC engine over in SAP do all the characteristic value assignments and so on and so forth. If you wanted to even go, take it even one step backwards and start with the configuration of the product over in materials management and build your KMAT, that is also possible. So it really depends on how much of that backward integration you want to do. But certainly from the sales standpoint, if all you wanted to do was give the salesperson the ability to configure that item on the fly, then yes, that is certainly possible. And we are in fact doing that right now for a couple of customers.
So we have another question. We can address these as they come in. So this one is, can the SAP doc flow in Salesforce be augmented with other non-SAP data? For example, transportation, monitoring, tracking info.
Absolutely. So this is the power. So like I said, this is a mashup, right? Because you're dealing with an unmanaged Visualforce page, I can pull in data from multiple sources. So I can have my SAP fields sitting right next to non-SAP fields. If you're pulling that in today, if you're pulling in information from a transportation management system that is non-SAP, and you want to show that versus what is actually in SAP in Salesforce, absolutely. So anything that we're rendering from Salesforce, we can render side by side along with any other information that you're capturing from outside of SAP as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for the questions, and keep them coming if you have some.
So this is the architecture, because I'm sure you're thinking, how do we do this? And this is a traditional sort of a view, right? And maybe I clicked that too quickly, but you all know what the traditional view looks like, right? You have some middleware in between. You're doing some ETL. You got to massage that data at the interface level, and that's when you can consume it in Salesforce. But each integration point is equal to a new development, right? So every time you say, hey, I need to do order entry, that's one integration. Then I need to do deliveries, another integration. Invoicing, another integration. I want to see credit information of the customer, that's another integration. So each of that becomes a project by itself. What we do is completely turn that around, and we'll talk about that here in a second. What we're delivering is an extensible integration platform. So you are installing the enosiX framework on your NetWeaver stack, and that is a certified SAP add-on. On top of that, we're delivering these smart business objects. So what in the past used to be integration points that you had to develop one at a time are now being delivered in one fell swoop as these smart business objects, which we'll see here in a second. On the Salesforce side of things, we are delivering a corresponding Salesforce SDK along with the code generator that allows you to code against these smart business objects and generate the Apex code automatically. So you're not starting from scratch. You don't have to write the Apex code from scratch. The code generator will render those Visualforce pages for you, and then you can use that as a starting point to further enhance the look and feel of what you're seeing in Salesforce.
And to my comment earlier, and I always like to tell prospects that we're talking to, our SDK for Salesforce, it was developed by a Salesforce developer that didn't know anything about SAP. So that speaks to, and Alex will get to that, how we've humanized this and made this easy for a Salesforce admin or developer to modify the last 20% maybe that we haven't covered with the out-of-the-box templates.
Right. And one more thing you'll notice here, it's not only just your SAP ECC, it's SCM, CRM, MDM. As long as your backend SAP application is NetWeaver, our add-on can be installed and you can integrate to other SAP applications as well. So this is not just ECC specific. So what is the secret sauce? You heard me talk about the smart business object. The smart business object is nothing but a wrapper. When it comes down to it, it's an ABAP class. What we have done is basically, so if you take, for example, sales order entry or customers in SAP, for those who are familiar with SAP, you know how complex those structures and tables are and what it takes for you to build this stuff from scratch. We've taken all those tables and fields, exit routines, all your BAPIs, all of that, and then we've wrapped it around this business object, smart business object, that we will then call sales order entry. Or sales orders, deliveries, invoices. Each of them are a business object. So this is what is being exposed to the Salesforce front end. This is what Scott was referring to as the humanized API, right? So the Salesforce developer doesn't now need to know Kunnar and KNV1 and BAPI sales from create that too, right? He just looks at the object and says, okay, here's my object customer, here's my object sales order, here's my object delivery, and then now he can start generating the Apex code against those objects and start consuming that in SAP. So it's a real deep integration into the SAP layer, leveraging the business logic that has already been configured by you at the SAP layer. So any configuration changes that you're doing in SAP are automatically being picked up and rendered in Salesforce. So you don't have to worry about, hey, I'm changing the process in SAP. How is that going to affect my Salesforce? It's going to happen automatically, right? Because we are working with SAP at the application layer. We are not working down at the table and database field level where we are bypassing the application logic. It is working at the application layer. So I guess I can stop and pause here and take any more questions that we have. Any questions?
At this point, we don't. We will wait here for a few seconds.
So while we're waiting for questions, this is the last slide I want to show you guys. This is how it is structured, right? And this is good for you to understand. So let's talk on the Salesforce side of things. What you're seeing here in orange is the enosiX framework. The base classes and the library, it's all in Apex. This is managed and supported by enosiX, right? So when Salesforce does their upgrades, this will upgrade as well. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to worry about it. What we're also delivering are the visual force page templates, the triggers, and all the Apex code. They're delivered as visual force page templates. So that is unmanaged, and then you can take that and you could start writing your own code to further enhance it and make it work for your specific processes. On the SAP side, again, the one in orange is the enosiX framework. Like I said, it's an SAP certified add-on. It handles all the communication requests coming in from the front-end client, whether that front-end client is Salesforce or a mobile device or an IVR, whatever that front-end is, it's handling all those incoming RFC requests. The way it works is that we have the framework and the SBO classes that are in ABAP. Again, the SBO classes is nothing proprietary in there. It's all ABAP code that you can take and enhance to your heart's content. What we're doing is we are exposing all of that information to the front end via a web service. So this is an HTTPS call going over. If you have a reverse proxy in between, you probably will have a reverse proxy in between, a firewall that will handle those requests, do the load balancing, and take care of the security, protect the identity of the backend SAP environment. So that's kind of the visual view of what the architecture looks like.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So we'll pause here. We have about a minute left, and so we'll just hang on and see if there's any additional questions, and if not, we can wrap up. We do have one question. Let's see. If our product sales team is part of an independent dealer network, can dealer pricing, discount programs, dealer-provided content be incorporated into the sales experience?
We probably have to delve into that a little bit more, but like I said, from what we are doing is providing the Salesforce the ability to have real-time connectivity into SAP. Now, if you have dealer pricing or any other data source, right? The beauty of this is that you can bring that information into Salesforce and then give your salespeople that unified experience, right? So you're bringing in data from an external source, but at the same time, you're also looking at your SAP data in real time. So it's a true mashup.
Yeah, and so I would think, I'm assuming you're using partner communities from Salesforce. So again, if partner communities is just a cloud into all of the Salesforce data, and then you're giving them visibility in real time to SAP data, that should work. We'd have to talk through the details, but on the surface, I don't see a reason why that wouldn't be within our capability. But it's a great question. Thank you. We'll pause one more. Here we go. Does this, oh no, we already did that. Okay, I think at this time we've covered all the questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And our website address is www.enosiX.com. That's ENOSIX. Appreciate your time today, and we look forward to following up with you. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you.